Come on. You like that? What do you mean it's arranged? Perfect.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Sims, the President and CEO of the Rehabilitation Hospital of the Cape and Islands, and I am thrilled to see so many people here today to celebrate an achievement that spans Provincetown to Boston to Washington, D.C. The awarding of the grant for $32 million to make OpenCape a reality. I want to thank Governor Patrick for joining us today, as well as so many of our local leaders, many of whom were instrumental in the creation of the Rehabilitation Hospital of the Cape and Islands. To them, I say a special thank you, both from the leadership team at RHCI and Spalding, and from the 53,000 individuals who have received rehabilitation here since 1995. As a 60-bed rehab hospital, RHCI has prided itself on bringing the latest innovations in rehabilitation to this region, both here at the main hospital and in outpatient centers spanning Plymouth to Orleans. Over the 15 years that we have been serving this area, healthcare technology has made patient care safer and more efficient every year. RHCI's commitment to providing the highest quality services led to our becoming involved in OpenCape. RHCI is pleased to serve as the host location for today's celebration, and thank you to RCN for sponsoring this party. OpenCape would not have come to fruition without the vision, hard work, and dedication of a group of people led by Dan Gallagher. I have always loved the Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And from here on out, I will immediately think of Dan Gallagher and the other members of the OpenCape team when I hear those words, for they were never more true. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Dan Gallagher, President and Chairman of OpenCape.
Thank you. Those were very nice words, Carol. So I must say my board members all call me the benevolent dictator. Thank you all for coming. This is really a big, important day for all of us here on Cape Cod. I want to thank Carol for hosting us here at RHCI, and especially the team of RHCI and Spalding, who have all been really contributing in a tremendous way to making this happen. John Campbell and Carol Stasikowski also. A tremendous job on your part. I also want to thank RCN Metro for hosting this event and paying for all of the wonderful food and drinks that you'll be able to have after this is over. I want to thank Governor Patrick for taking the time to be with us here today and acknowledge several other officials that are here with us. Senator Kerry was not able to come. His Senate schedule prevented him from coming today. We had expected him. Sherry Rawls is here representing him today. Also, Chris Adams is here on behalf of Representative Delahunt. Thank you for coming. They were both instrumental in this. I also want to acknowledge Representative Jeff Perry, who is here. Timothy Madden is also here, and Cleon Turner. Thank you very much for coming, along with Senator Rob O'Leary. I also want to acknowledge the Cape Cod Commissioners, Mary Pat Flynn, Sheila Lyons, and Bill Doherty, the Chair of the Assembly of Delegates, Ron Bergstrom, and our County Sheriff, Jim Cummings. Thank you all for coming. 4 years ago, we all came together at Cape Cod Community College for our first talk. We said, if you have a problem with the bandwidth available to your institution or your business, come and talk to us. And 100 people showed up. On that day, Teresa Martin said to everybody in the crowd, if you're here to complain, you're in the wrong room. We're here to do something. And boy, did we. I'm pleased to tell you all that with the recently announced $32 billion BTOP grant award, OpenCape now has $40 million committed, which is required to build this network that will serve this region for the next 50 years. along with the $32 million to make up that $40 million, are commitments in our match. $5 million commitment from the Commonwealth, thanks to the governor and our state legislators from the Cape Cod delegation, who we are very grateful to for their help on this. Also, our private partner, RCN Metro Optical Networks, is providing $2 million as part of our match. We're grateful to them as well, Felipe. Thank you very much. And also, the contribution of the public safety building at the Barnstable County Complex over in West Barnstable. I want to thank the county commissioners, Sheila Lyons, Mary Pat Flynn, and Bill Doherty for their help in really taking the bull by the horns and creating a partnership between the county and OpenCape to make this really work for us. It's a real big part of this complex problem that we're addressing here. Thank you very much. So 4 years ago, we began a journey. It started with a concept that we named OpenCape. That concept was, can you build a publicly owned and controlled telecommunications infrastructure to support the needs of this community and not leave that in the hands strictly of private companies who are answerable to their shareholders and their boards? We understand why they do that, but our interests aren't necessarily always addressed in those models. We formed a steering committee that eventually became our board and our nonprofit 501c3 corporation, OpenCape. I want to acknowledge our board members. They're all, I believe, over here. Sean O'Brien. Sean is the public safety, the Barnstable County Regional Emergency Planning Director. And you'll see the geographic and functional roles of all these people in this process. Bob Green, former Vice Chancellor of UMass Dartmouth. Ellen Driscoll, yes, Bob, thank you. Ellen Driscoll, the Technology Coordinator for the Plymouth Public Schools. Charlie Sumner, who is the town manager of Brewster. Craig Wygand, the Water District Manager of Harwich. John Kennan is the Selectman Chair. Here he is, Selectman Chair and Sandwich. And John Campbell, who is the CIO of this hospital and Spalding Healthcare. We also have an executive committee, and I want to point them out in particular. We've put thousands of our hours, personal hours, into making this thing happen. And the 4 executive committee members really that did that, a lot of that work were Gary Delius, over here, Art Gaylord from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and Teresa Martin. They've done a tremendous job, and I really want to ask you to give them a big round of applause. One day we were at an event and someone asked, was speaking with Art Gaylord and I, and they said, so what is in this for all of you guys? And are you making money on this? And Art said, and I really appreciated it, he said, there are those among us who still believe in doing what is for the public good. And that's what we're doing. But we didn't do it alone. We sought out partners and help. And we believe surely in input and iteration. Right, Teresa? Input and iteration was critical to our success. The Cape Cod Technology Council was involved early on. The Barnstable County Economic Development Commission gave us our first $50,000 grant on a prayer, and it worked out. There's a few guys, Alan, I see you over there. Best $50,000 you ever invested, right? And then we went on from there, the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative and the John Adams Innovation Institute, and I saw Bill Ennin here earlier. Those folks up there, they also invested in us with a $150,000 grant. A lot of things we needed to do that required money. We couldn't do it just on the volunteers. They invested in us, and we surely appreciate that. In 2008, Governor Patrick, with some vision, we really appreciate Governor, and his team put into the legislature the broadband bill to address the need for ubiquitous broadband for all of the citizens of Massachusetts. Our delegations from the Cape were very helpful in ensuring that the interests of the Cape region were included in that bill, and there was a $40 million incentive fund created, of which $5 million was expected to be addressing the Southeast Massachusetts issues. That also created the Massachusetts Broadband Institute. Judy Dumont is here today. Judy's over here. And Stan McGee is the board chair for the Mass Broadband Institute. Those folks have played a great partnership role with us in getting this done and working with us, and we appreciate that help from them. Finally, our federal legislators were a great help to us when we were going through the grant process. We had to apply for this $32 million grant last year, and it took quite a process. And the folks down in Washington were really very helpful to us. And I want to especially say Senator Kerry's office and Representative Delahunt's office were always there for us, helping us, guiding us through these processes, and it was essential to us. We appreciate it. So we've assembled $40 million to build the OpenCape network now to serve telecommunications needs throughout the region for the next 50 years. We did this together. It is a significant achievement. What does it mean? What will we do with the money, and what will we build? I'm going to keep this really short. Up on that wall is a map, and there are some posters if you're over on this side. And you can see the purple line there. That is 350. There's three components to this. 350 miles of fiber optic cable from Providence to Provincetown, and from the canal to Plymouth and Brockton, and on to Boston. As well, there is a microwave overlay that goes on top of this, a wireless microwave dedicated to public safety. It includes the backhaul and microwave and a 700 megahertz mobile communications capability for our firefighters and our policemen on this Cape. It's essential in an area where we're really threatened by hurricanes and major coastal storms to have this. And if you have a heart attack in Provincetown, you want the best communications between that ambulance traveling in August to Hyannis that you can get, and we're going to deliver it for them, and I think that's a significant thing. And finally is that co-location center over at the county complex. That ties everything together, really, so that we can bring a data center there where government activities and private company activities can be consolidated into there and saving money and allowing you much, much greater capabilities and capacity. That's what we're going to build. The timeline is we have to spend this grant within 3 years. We have to have it substantially done within 2. We're going to be working very aggressively to meet those goals, and if we can, we'll bring it up in segments as we go along. I'm looking at the network designer right now, David Bigelow. We'll bring it up in segments and then just add on to it as time passes so we can bring service as quickly as possible to people here on the Cape. So that's the timeline. I think we've had a major accomplishment. All of you in this room are largely in this room right now because you've played a role in making this happen, and I appreciate that. At this time, I want to introduce Governor Deval Patrick and ask him to make some comments to the group. As I said, his vision in 2008 with the broadband bill was a big help in this, and we appreciated his support in this whole effort. Governor Patrick?
Thank you, Dan. I would have been here on time, but that darn bridge. I am so excited to be here today. So excited about the news of the support from the federal government through the stimulus bill, partnering with the resources of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, your resources, your money, in bringing this service to bear here on the Cape. Dan, your leadership has been extraordinary. He is so right about the partnership, and he's acknowledged the members of the commission, the members of the legislative delegation who showed such foresight in supporting our broadband bond bill, the members of the MBI, those from the private sector, friends and neighbors, a lot of whom didn't speak that geek speak that Dan just spoke before this all began, but who understood the importance of bringing these services to bear here in the Cape and on the Cape and on the islands as well. Why? Why? We have and deserve a 21st century means of managing medical records. We have 21st century services. Why not a 21st century means of managing those medical records? We have public safety and public health needs, as Dan referred to, that have gone without the kind of support that this network will provide. That gets solved now, too. But there's one other thing that Dan hasn't mentioned, which I will. There are 200 jobs that go with building this. 200 jobs. And we need those jobs, and we need them here on the Cape. And that's very good news. Every once in a while I go around and folks say, what did the Recovery Act do? I'm telling you, there are 25,000 people with names and Social Security numbers who are working today because of the Recovery Act here in Massachusetts. And there are 200 more who will be working right here on the Cape because of the Recovery Act. So I want you to remember that. When you're wondering what the Recovery Act did, you take aside one of those young men and women, maybe not so young, who are digging the trenches and helping to build this fiber optic network, who are helping to design it, who are a part of making this happen here on the Cape, and putting in place a thing of value for 50 years. And remember also the point that was made at the very, very beginning by our host, Carol, when she talked about what can be done when people come together across all kinds of differences and point in the same direction. Because we have other challenges after this one that remain to be met here on the Cape and all across the Commonwealth. And I'm absolutely convinced that when we come together in this spirit and with this constructive attitude, not just with our standard list of non-negotiable demands, but with solutions that go with them. There is nothing that the people of the Commonwealth can't accomplish. I'm honored to be with you today, and congratulations.
As I mentioned, the whole Cape delegation for the state legislature has been instrumental in helping us, and I wanted to ask Senator Rob Leary to come up and speak for the delegation on behalf of them.
Thank you very much, and I'll be very brief, but I first of all want to thank the governor for all his efforts, frankly, his leadership on the bill itself, the bond bill itself. And then, as it became clear that was going to happen, our initiative down here, which began, as Dan pointed out early on, at the grassroots level and involved a lot of different people, as Wendy Northcross said to me earlier in the day here, all rowing in the same direction. And when we, as the delegation, approached the governor around this issue, he made it a priority. And it's that fact that I think helped bring us here today, and I want to say thank you very much. I get up this morning, I don't know about you, I get up this morning, listen to the radio, which I commonly do, and on my way to work, and I heard that the unemployment rate on Cape Cod is approaching 14%. And I was, it sent a bit of a chill, struck by that number. And I know people say the Cape is a seasonal economy, but people have to pay their mortgages every month. They have to pay their electric bills every month. We need jobs on the Cape. And as the governor pointed out, this is going to create a lot of jobs. And that is very, very important to us as a community. The last point I want to make, Governor, is when you came over that bridge, slow ride, a bit slow. If you had looked up, and I know you're not the kind of person that looks down, you're the kind of person that looks up. If you looked up, you would have noticed above that bridge, 1933, I believe 1935, I think as I recall. And you would know, if you looked at those dates, that that was a WPA, I think a PWA project. It was part of the New Deal. It was built at a time when we were having a lot of problems, and the government stepped up and built some infrastructure. And we're still driving over that bridge all these years later. It was a wise investment. It's a little dated, needs to be painted, needs to be fixed a bit. But on balance, it's still there and it's doing what it was designed to do. That was smart government money helping keep Cape Codders away from the poorhouse. We're in that same situation again today, I think. And I think what's really fascinating about this is we're building another bridge here. It's a different kind of bridge. It's a technology bridge. It's going to open up all kinds of jobs here on the Cape over time. And I think 50, 60 years later, 30 years later, after we do this, people will look back and say, that was a smart move. So thank you very much, all of you, for all of your efforts.
Thank you, Senator. I want to ask Mary Pat Flynn to come up and speak on behalf of the county commissioners as the chair.
Good afternoon. When I got up this morning, I thought it was Saturday. And it's a good thing it only took me a few seconds to remember it was Friday, or I would have missed this wonderful event. And I do want to thank the governor, who really played such an important role through the broadband bill in making this happen. But OpenCape is a regional story, and it will change forever the way we live and work on Cape Cod. There is no doubt about it. I think we have now just about completed chapter 1 of this story, and that began with Dan and his team putting together this concept and bringing it forward. And as a member at that time of the Cape Cod Economic Development Council, I remember Dan coming to the council with his team and saying, this great idea, I have all the parts together, the outcome is very positive for the Cape, and I'm coming to ask for $50,000. And the EDC, without too much deliberation, decided to support that. And then when it came to the county commissioners, of which I was one at the time, and Sheila Lyons and Bill, and Dan was there again with his team explaining this project and what it could do for Cape Cod, there was no doubt in our minds that this was the kind of project that we wanted to support. And then he mentions the price tag, $40 million, but don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to provide all of it. And we're thinking we're not even sure we can provide some of it, but as it worked out, the county became a partner with Dan and his team on this OpenCape project. And we are a close partner. We have provided space, which OpenCape will use to move this project forward. And they'll be right behind us, back on the hill. So it isn't like we won't be around to see what's going on. But this project is so important. And oftentimes people say, what happens with the license plate money? Every time you buy a Cape and Islands license plate, you pay $50, and it goes toward economic development. And sometimes the results of those funds being awarded to nonprofits, to other groups on the Cape, you think, well, how can we measure the results of that? And the EDC does that all the time. But this project is one that the measurement of its success will go on and on for many, many years. So it was clearly a $50,000 effort that has brought back so much so far, and it has a long way to go. So I see a whole group of partners here in this room, as the county is a partner, and I look forward to working with Dan and his team and with all of you, and we are going to have a Cape Cod like no other. Thank you.
Thank you. We're only going to take a few more moments of your time, but I think it's important that we transition a little bit from the celebratory to the work ahead. And that's where the benevolent dictator comes in. But one of the things that we decided to do with our proposal was, we felt, how are people going to look at us requesting $32 million as really a bunch of volunteers? We haven't got any employees, we don't even have an office space. How are they going to react to us? And so we said, well, we really should take care of that by bringing in an expert company that does this for a living. We think it's essential to the long-term sustainability of this project to have a private, for-profit company out there doing the work, building, maintaining, operating, selling, that we could not really do. And us as the partner who owns, for the benefit of the community, we will own the physical asset, but we will license a private company to do that. We went through a competitive selection process last year, and we chose RCN Metro Optical Networks as our partner to go forward with this. We feel it was a very strong, a very good choice because they were very helpful in the grant application. And I want to thank them once again for hosting, sponsoring this event today. And I want to ask the president of RCN Metro, Felipe Alvarez, to come up and make a few comments for us on why RCN got involved in this and their role going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that I want to do is first congratulate the folks in southeastern Massachusetts, Cape Cod and the islands on winning this, and specifically also your organization, Dan, OpenCape Corporation, because I think without that, your leadership and your vision, I don't think we'll be here, honestly. Part of the selection process, just as you looked at us and you looked at our qualifications, our ability to actually work and help you shape the vision that you had, was we also did a bit of our own selection, because it's not, we didn't pick this project at random. We looked at it, we felt comfortable with the relationship. We passed many other projects to this one specifically, because we felt very comfortable with the way that it runs. We felt very comfortable with what we were doing here. It's literally an extension, this is part of my commitment, essentially the company's commitment to you, is that we're going to leverage the expertise that we have in not only designing, building, and operating middle mile. We do essentially backbone, middle mile, and last mile networks. But our commitment is to not only build it, I think in 18 months, if it works, rather than 3 years, but we'll work that out. But building it and operating it for the benefit of the community and to leverage all the expertise that we have. Last thing I'll say is, in reality, one of the things that, from me, a personal perspective, good things happen on the Cape for me. I was got engaged on the Cape about 9 years ago. I am very happily married, so I look forward to the same thing.
So the final topic for today is we have the money, we have a partner to build it with, we have a window, a timeline of how long it will take us to build it. What will we do as a community to use it to our greatest advantage when it is built? That's critical. And you'll see that we have posters up here about categories of what we call verticals or advisory groups that we want many of you in this room to pay attention to and get involved in. And I'm going to point out some names with this. For public safety, Sean O'Brien, one of our board members, is leading that up, pulling together the Chiefs of Police Association, the Fire Chiefs Association, who are both represented here today, all the shelters on Cape Cod to make sure all those needs are addressed. We need your input. Talk to Sean if you're in that group. On the municipal side, Charlie Sumner, a town administrator, along with Gary Delius, who is a town MIS director, John, a selectman, John Kennan, and also a water district manager, and Craig Wygand. Speak to those people and look at these boards that we have here, what you can benefit from. In research, Art Gaylord is heading up that group. Many of you here are from HUI, MBL. We want you folks involved and engaged. Again, how are we going to use this to our greatest advantage? In higher education, that's me, because my real job is I'm the CIO of Cape Cod Community College. I just do this in my spare time. Ellen Driscoll, who's not here today, is heading up to K-12 with me, and economic development is Teresa Martin. So those are what we call vertical sector areas that we want to make sure we're preparing and thinking about how we're going to use this to our greatest advantage. And finally, the healthcare side. I'm going to ask John Campbell to come up right now and talk a little bit more about what he's been doing to organize all of the hospitals and healthcare companies in Southeast Massachusetts already, so that when this is available, they can take great advantage of it. John, would you come up for a minute, please?
Thank you, Dan. Let me just say again how delighted Rehab Hospital of the Cape and Islands is to be a supporter of Open Cape and your host today for this historic event. As we move forward, as Dan said, with the construction of the Open Cape network, securing and maintaining support from our key constituents is critical to realizing Open Cape's full potential. In the healthcare vertical, where I work, we've already started to work with our key stakeholders from Cape Cod and Southeastern Mass on how to best leverage the new capacity that Open Cape brings to meet our shared goals for this region. Here's a few examples. To meet the federal government's goals for the health information technology area as specified in the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, that's a mouthful, all healthcare providers will be required to share information and functionality in new ways and in ways that are actually not possible today. Shared electronic medical records will improve patient safety by making the entire patient's medical record available to every provider of care, whether it's a hospital, a physician's office, a community health center, or even in a patient's home. Patients will be able to manage their own health online using patient portals and personal health records, and even monitor and manage their chronic diseases at home. Telemedicine will provide access to higher quality services and specialists while keeping those patients closer to or even in their own home. Reduced healthcare costs will be realized by eliminating duplicate tests and enabling care in lower cost settings and reducing medication and other errors. New capabilities will ensure that a patient's medical record is available at all times, even in disaster. Realizing these benefits will require significant additional network capacity, which will be brought by Open Cape. Open Cape looks forward to engaging and working with our constituents in every segment of our community to help realize these benefits, create new economic opportunities, and realize all of the quality of life possible in a fully connected world. Thank you, Dan, and I would like to invite everyone to stay after the reception. We will have some food and drinks out in the tent outside. We're going to have a demonstration of some of our health information technology right over here, and lastly we'll have the cutting of our cake over here in the corner. So thank you everyone for coming today. All right.
And that concludes our program for today. I thank you all for coming, but I look forward to finding you again down the road when we need some help. Thank you all.